Hello, this is Moon of the Strawberries here, also known as Mots to some of you guys. And if you guys haven't noticed yet, I'm a huge nerd. I am a nerd of animation, Disney, video games, and I decided I wanted to review a lot of things as a nerd, just as a fan. And I feel like one of the ones that I really want to start off with is a movie that just came out recently, and I feel like I'm just going to get my feet a little wet with this one. But before I say anything, I need to admit, Pixar is one of the behemoths of the animation industry. It came around in '95 with Toy Story, and ever since the company just flourished into something that was revolutionary for the time. Computer animation was actually not really frowned upon, but it wasn't something that they believed they could make a movie off of. And once it became its own co-company, back in '95, creating Toy Story, it became a huge thing. Since then, we've gotten DreamWorks and other movie companies making computer-generated movies, and even Disney, which is its co-founder, is also following in its footsteps. Now, Pixar is a company that has made so many good movies. It's made Up, it's made WALL-E, it's made The Incredibles, it's made the Toy Story series, it's made tons. And whether they're of epic proportions or they're just storytelling, they're all really good. There have been a few that aren't as good, like A Bug's Life wasn't one that made a lot of money, and Cars, which I absolutely hate, but we'll get back to that on a later note. So, after last year, where they decided they wanted to make a sequel to Cars to try to make more money off it and failed, I expected them to learn a little bit from their mistakes and make a movie that would work. They made Brave. Now, what I did like about it was I loved the trailer. The trailer, if you haven't already seen it, which is weird because it's been out for a while, the trailer told you absolutely nothing about the story. And I think that's one of the best things you could do for a movie is to keep people guessing. And when I first saw it, part of me thought, wow, this is really cool. I have no idea what the story is going to be about. This must be something, that they're saving up for. It might be something completely new. At the same time, I didn't really think much about it. I just thought, wow, this is interesting, but I don't know if it's going to work. Sadly, I was right. Now, I understand that this movie's a first for Pixar, and I applaud them, because they did do a good job. First female director, first heroine, especially princess, in the Pixar community, and they completely changed the animation to do hair, and everything else. Now, visually, this movie's amazing. It's really beautiful. They did a really good job making a visual story. But the written story isn't that good. Now, the story is about Merida, who's a young princess, and she's going to be wed off, and she wants to marry her own person, like her own, significant other, and she rebels. Now, if you were, watching the trailer and thinking something, you'd be like, oh, she's gonna go on this grand adventure, she's gonna leave, she's going to make a name for herself, she's gonna show everyone what she's really made of, and that's not the movie. At all. And it's depressing because this is a great movie, and also because, as a fan of animation, I love accents for one reason, and I like a lot of, Celtic-sounding music. Didn't grab me. And the reason is the storyline. And I'm just going to let you know, I do spoilers in these reviews. Disney, I know a lot of reviewers already said this, but I have to say it too. Disney already made this movie. It's called Brother Bear. And the second that she went to this witch's cabin to get the curse, I knew exactly what was happening. And it's depressing. It's really bad when you see a movie and I know everything that's going to happen from this point on. Now, there's sometimes you can get that and it could be great. It could be fantastic. But this one was not. Now, the storyline was very jumpy, and that I didn't like. I couldn't tell if it was the story about Merida and her mother. For those who don't know, Merida's mother turns into a bear. Didn't know if it was about her and her mother. I didn't know it was about her and the kingdom. I didn't know if it was about the story between how the kingdoms collapsed and how Mordu the bear was into this. There really wasn't a lot of place story. It was just, oh, here's something going on here, and here's something going on over here, and trying to pay attention to it, you're just bored. You're just like, whatever, they're just giving me information. And I think that's the worst part about it. I feel like Brother Bear, despite the fact that it didn't put out as much of a good story as it could have, Brother Bear made the story better. They did it better. The whole thing with Merida and her mother is they got into an argument, and she wanted to change her fate. So she went to a witch's cabin and made a scone, I think it was a scone, and gave it to her mother, and her mother turned into a bear. And that was it. That was really it. And then she goes and she learns that, my mother and I have to be on the same terms, and then the spell will be broken. It was a touching movie in some cases. I did feel for the characters, but not all the time. Merida just comes off as whiny. The mother you don't really... I didn't hate the mother. I thought that she was a pretty good character, but she wasn't as strong as the other Pixar movies. It's depressing. We have all these movies like Up and WALL-E, and they were phenomenal, and they took something that was so simple and they made it so huge, and Brave could have done this. It could have, and I know it's unfair to, judge a movie on what it's not, but in this case it is. It's coming from Pixar. It's coming from this big company that has just pretty much had a few bad movies, and where's it going with this? It's taking the easy way out. And that's what I liked about Pixar and Disney back in the Disney Renaissance, is they took risks. And I don't feel like they took a big enough risk in this movie. They just said, oh, well, kids will like it. Let's just make a little mother-daughter coming-of-age bonding story and just leave it at that. And that's not... Well, it could be, but it shouldn't be. I feel like that, as a Pixar and Disney fan, would expect. But, yeah... It could have been this amazing coming-of-age story where Merida leaves her home and, the whole thing with Mor'du. Mor'du is one of the, I think, brothers in the original clan who went power-hungry with the curse and just turned to a bear and just started killing everything. And I understand that, and that's a pretty cool idea. Mor'du is an excellent villain, for one thing. He's absolutely terrifying. He's this big bear with these glowing red eyes, and it's horrifying and everything. I think it would have been so much better if Merida left her village and went on this epic journey to avenge her father's leg. To say, I could do this myself, I will go and avenge my father's leg and kill this bear with my own hands. That would have been great. That would have been amazing. But it was just this little campy film, and the music was good. The visuals are fantastic, but it wasn't as good as it could. Now, I did like the movie. I did like it. We're just going to throw that out there. I did laugh at all of the jokes. The jokes were really funny. A lot of visual humor. The parts with the witch I didn't like, because it was so out of place. It was so... they tried to be really funny with it, and it just came off as obnoxious. And a little awkward. But, other than that, it's an okay movie. It's there, I think, with, Bug's Life and Cars, where it was interesting, but it wasn't that great. And it's a little sad to say that for Pixar. I know a lot of people like it, and you can like it. You can like this movie. I know a lot of people who do. It's cute, but it's not fantastic. It's not up there with all the other ones that came out, especially with Toy Story 3. That was a really good movie. And to see after Toy Story 3 the next two movies that came after it weren't good, it's really sad. And they're coming out with Monsters 2. We don't need a college story. We already had that with Toy Story. I like to quote Walt Disney here. He said that if a good story doesn't need to be told twice. And I believe that. Unless you can make a sequel work like the Toy Story series, go for it. But we don't need to see what they did in college. We don't. And seeing this downfall has made me think that, they're not... This is the downfall of Pixar. Their reign is starting to go down. And I would not be surprised if DreamWorks makes better movies because of this weakness that they're doing. I really hope that Pixar can get their stuff together. But, until now, I'll just probably be rewatching all the other ones. I know that they're redoing Finding Nemo in 3D now, which I think might make Pixar more money, but they need to start getting their act together. They really do. And I hate to say it, but, I wish them for the best, and if Monsters 2 becomes fantastic, good for them. But I don't have hope for this movie or the following ones. And for those people who like Brave, and for those who are interested in seeing it, just keep an open mind that it's really, really just, you know what's going on. It's predictable, and it's sad to say that this movie is predictable. But you do what you want. I'm just a nerd here, so what can I say? So, if you guys do like it, I'm glad that you liked it, and those who didn't, Pixar made other movies.